To you too. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football on a Monday. One of the very last Mondays that we will be able to discuss just off-season projections, off-season predictions, off-season previews. Just nothing in the books, nothing on the field that we can talk about. This is going to be one of the very last Mondays that we are relegated to talking about the past and the possible future. We will be talking about football that we watched, that we saw with our own two eyes, that we didn't have to speculate against. And we will actually see some results, I believe, in week one, starting with week one, that will say, wow, we thought that for the last 9 months, and now it actually turned out this way. And this team's actually got a chance to be a little bit better than we thought. And this team maybe is not quite as invincible. It will start unraveling week one of the college football season, and we will start to define contenders and pretenders and championship teams and Heisman Trophy candidates. All right. Welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We have striked up the live stream again on a Monday at 6 o'clock. This is our promised time slot on a Monday, 6 o'clock Eastern time. We come your way on a Sunday afternoon at 4, Monday at 6, Wednesday and Thursday night at 7. And you guys know me better than that. I can't help myself but to strike up more live streams throughout the week as topics hit my head. And I just want to talk college football and hear from you. Once we get into the season, I will let you know what the schedule is going to be starting with week one. I've got an idea, but need to figure out what is best for you, best for me, and what's feasible where I can still get other work done that we need to do for the channel. What that means right now is a whole lot of previews and predictions. Early this morning, we released the number one schedule, the most difficult, the toughest schedule in college football. Florida State Seminoles, number one in the ACC, number one, period. They've got the toughest schedule in college football with Notre Dame, Florida, Northern Illinois out of conference, and then the ACC Atlantic Gauntlet of Clemson, North Carolina State, Louisville, Boston College, Wake Forest, and then the two most difficult teams to face in the Coastal, Miami and Virginia Tech. It is the toughest schedule in college football, according to my metrics. Now, we have kicked off our series of predictions, previews and predictions. So I'm not just running through a bunch of games and running through the schedule and saying they're going to win these 8 and going to lose those 2. And then the other 2 I've got is a maybe. And so I'm going to guess on the other 2. And there you go. They're going to go 9-3. I am running through personnel breakdowns because you guys watch the games. But if you struggle like me to try to keep track of everyone, try to keep track of all the teams, all the personnel, all the key players, and certainly with all the turnover rate in college football, there are a number of guys that we're going to know about a month from now that we don't know about right now. So I'm going to try to get you ready for 2018, ready to watch these teams, ready to say, okay, I'm watching Cal, North Carolina this week. I'm going to catch about 10 minutes of this before the other game kicks off, and I'm going to lock in on this. Okay, what did Mark have to say about Cal and North Carolina? Who do I need to look out for? Who may make some plays in this game? That's what we're trying to do for you. Personnel breakdowns and the metrics, the advanced metrics that mean something that may apply and give us indication as to teams being not quite as good as we thought, or maybe a little bit better. Ian jumping on. How come ESPN is not outraged that the Astros signed a pitcher that was beating up his girlfriend at the stadium? I know it's not college football, but the NFL and Major League Baseball have players that were caught. Love the interview with the Alabama guy. Very knowledgeable, as an Alabama fan should be. That's Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Ian, is this a second Houston Astros player? There was one previously. There was the one that they just traded for. I believe that's who you're speaking of. Not going to delve into that. The take that any team or league should have concerning domestic violence is that if they find out that there is a possibility that any of their players, coaches, personnel, staff are involved in domestic violence, whether they are a victim or they are a perpetrator or offender, They should have that investigated. Once it's investigated, once they turn it over to the proper authorities, then the people that are currently innocent should be considered innocent until proven guilty. Somebody contacted me today. I believe that was Ryan Mell. No, somebody else. One of you guys contacted me today about the Tom Herman, Urban Meyer, Zach Smith, Courtney Smith, Shelley Meyer situation. And whatever Tom Herman's wife's name is. Now, I have not had the time in any way, shape, or form to really look into this because it's all speculation at this point. We know what the deal is. Brett McMurphy was tipped off. He followed that tip. He confronted Urban Meyer. He did his research beforehand, confronted Urban Meyer at Big Ten Media Days. Therefore, once Urban Meyer denied it, he had a story. It broke, and it broke loose. Courtney Smith has had her interviews. Zach Smith had his exclusive interview on ESPN. We have all sorts of conflicting stories there in regards to abuse, non-abuse. And then as a football matter that could mean jobs, it comes down to Urban Meyer either telling the truth in regards to reporting the situation or not telling the truth. And in regards to now Tom Herman, we get the denial from Tom Herman that he tipped off the authorities and tipped off Brett McMurphy, I should say, tipped off Brett McMurphy, who reported the story. So we get the denial from Tom Herman and Brett McMurphy, and we get the accusations from an Ohio State beat writer. I don't know what the truth is right now. I know that if Urban Meyer went through proper protocol, and this is really the concern of this channel, this show, is the football aspect of it. I will certainly always sit here and give you my viewpoint in regards to social issues if they come up. Justice and truth and the right thing to do. And I will certainly stand up for that. The integrity, the ethics, the character, every time. I will also stand up for people to be defended and to be not thrown into the court of public opinion until we know what happened. But we will deal with the football first and foremost, and the football ramifications are the most minimal at the beginning because Zach Smith was fired. He's a marginal wide receiver coach at Ohio State, so minimal football impact there. Then it could turn into a magnitude of football impact at Ohio State if Urban Meyer is released and dismissed of his duties, or if he is kept, and this impacts Ohio State greatly on the recruiting path, which I believe it will to a certain extent, that it will slightly, that it will moderately in the interim. This recruiting cycle may be a down year for Ohio State, regardless of what happens with Urban Meyer. Then the next football question is Tom Herman. And let's say he did tip off a reporter. What does the University of Texas feel about that? What do they think? He would then be a liar in public, a denier of the truth, a denier of what his involvement was. I don't know that there's a way that Tom Herman, unless other facts or speculations revealed and proven, if there's really cause for concern for Texas fans. Maybe Tom Herman stuck his nose or did something that he shouldn't necessarily dive into because he had an axe to grind. But reporting a story that turns out to be valid isn't necessarily a fireable offense. All right. I'm an honorary Gator as of right now. George, you can give me a helmet and it will be displayed on the top shelf. We'll do that. Thomas Sills. Mark's a Kane. You guys give me whatever team you want. Just get the views and the comments and the likes and the subscriptions, and I'll play whatever role you need me to. I'm Mr. Neutral. I'm Mr. College Football Analyst, the voice of college football. All right. Mark, do you see any other team taking a plunge like Oregon State this year? Ian Keynes, that's a good question. So Oregon State 2 years ago under Gary Anderson at 5-7. They had about as light a schedule as you could find in the Pac-12. They had one of those rotations in which they missed the good teams, but still 5-7, I think, was either 2-7 or 3-6. I believe it was 2-7 in the Pac-12, but still much better than what they were the previous couple of years. So Gary Anderson, and we spoke to him here at Mark Rogers TV that spring following 5-7, in which it looked like, hey, maybe this program is going to become what it was, or start to take some stepping stones toward at least now postseason play and beyond. And then it all caved in. And we know that Gary Anderson didn't feel as though he was put in a position to win. And 1-11, whatever they were when he stepped down, 1-5, 1-6, and just awful. I pointed this out during my prediction video that was released this afternoon on Oregon State. Not only did they lose games, they were defensively obliterated in the Pac-12. 50 points a week, 50, 48, 52, 48, on and on and on. 69 ended the season in points given up by Oregon State to Oregon. So that doesn't answer your question, Ian. Who could take a nosedive this year that's not already down? Illinois, Kansas, Oregon State down? You know, I think that if Tennessee plays the talent it has and Jeremy Pruitt does reasonably well, they win the couple games that they should in the SEC. So somebody's got to be a bottom feeder. There has to be one or two bottom feeders. So I could see Arkansas. I could see Vanderbilt. I could see, after a year in which Bronco Mendenhall got a lift out of Virginia, that overall, although he's a really good head coach and doing the right things and getting some really big recruits and nice recruits at Virginia right now, that they may, with Kurt Benkert out of the lineup, and they lost their NFL players on defense, led by Micah Kaiser, that maybe Virginia, maybe they're the team that really takes a rough year this year. Virginia, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Kansas is there, Oregon State's there in the mire. Colorado only won 2 games in the Pac-12 last year. They have to travel to Nebraska. They've got Colorado State. That's a toss-up game. If they go 1-2 outside the conference and then can only win 1 game in the conference, then they're a mess as well at potentially 3-9, something in that range. All right, let's run through the live chat. I did not prepare anything. As you guys can see, I have been looking at schedules, and I finally finished that series early this morning with Florida State with the most difficult schedule in college football. Now we finally got to our previews and predictions. We've got Oregon State out there. We've got Cal out there. I am going to be working through the Pac-12 over the next several days. All right. The CAC. Good to see you. Buckeye State Sports, thanks for joining. 19 days until Ohio State, Oregon State. That means 17 days until Northwestern, Purdue, and anybody else playing on that Thursday night. Nobody else comes to mind. We'll give it a look. Ryan's on board. Virginia Tech will be 7-5, not so high on them this year. I have done my Virginia Tech notes. Virginia Tech, yes. They had a horrible offseason, of course. And, yeah, wherever I am with that. Get notes all over the place. Virginia Tech. So Virginia Tech, despite finishing a respectable 9-4 last year, they were 0-3 against the top 40 in the nation. Yeah, I think Justin Fuente is the right guy for the job, but I think they may take a dip as Ryan points out here this season, they've got a difficult schedule in which they have to play Florida State, Boston College outside the division. They've got Notre Dame at home. They did not schedule anybody else. So the ACC gave them the Notre Dame game, and the rest of it's East Carolina, Old Dominion, Liberty, whoever it is. So 3-1 out of the conference is almost a lock. It is a lock, basically. If they can pull off a home upset of Notre Dame, then maybe they're on to something. They're 4-0 outside the conference. But I'm seeing a 5-3 conference record, most likely. Miami, Florida State should beat Virginia Tech. And then either BC or Duke, they drop one of those games. Certainly they can't lose to Georgia Tech or Pitt or North Carolina, Virginia, anybody like that. And they never lose to the Cavaliers. They had Adonis Alexander, one of their top cornerbacks, academically ruled ineligible. Jeremy Webb tore his Achilles. He's out for the year. Another defensive back. Nickelback Mook Reynolds, who was a starter, dismissed from the team. And their defensive co-coordinator, Jalen Scott, all in all sorts of a mess, personally resigned. So 9 of 10 top linebackers and defensive backs. Their 10 best players at DB and linebacker at Virginia Tech gone, including, of course, the Edmonds brothers. Bud Foster's back, of course. We won't go through the whole team, but they lack a big-time running back. They lack a wide receiver, and now the staple of the team at defensively is very inexperienced. All right, we've got Coconut Cane, Buckeye State Sports. Ian, I know you sound salty, but I've always thought ESPN has been mad that Fox got BTN, and they've trashed the Big Ten ever since. George, I don't think we want to know the ugly truth about what goes on in college football. Can we please get back to the game? Mark, you probably shouldn't look into it. It's a soap opera at this point, and a busy person like you would get confused because there's so much stuff. You're telling me. I just did one Google. Tom Herman, wife, Urban Meyer. Okay, what am I looking at here? National championship game final score. Florida 31, Clemson 17. I think we're all on board with that, George. All on board. Is your boy Emory Jones quarterbacking that game? Ricky, the must have been, I guess this must have been a major falling out with Meyer and Herman when Herman left for Houston. And that was talked about at the time, that they weren't on the best of conditions there. That's Kevin Wilson getting the job over. No, there was a coaching situation in which Tom Herman was passed over at Ohio State, but that was pre-Kevin Wilson. Not remembering the situation there. On the Urban situation, not the championship prediction. I agree, Buckeye. I just don't understand where the line's drawn. Can you even imagine the frenzy if Florida takes their 19 returning starters and all the new superstars, goes undefeated in the playoffs? George. Guess it could happen. Got to go through LSU, Mississippi State, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida State. All right, Navy Thomas. Better late than never. Mark, nobody liked the Ohio State anyway. Mark, I'm going to make you an honorary Gator. Got to that. All right, Mark, do you see any other team taking a plunge like Oregon State? We addressed that. Where are we? Tom Herman's guilty, but nobody cares. Miami, LSU. Thomas Sills, appreciate it. Have I seen your name before, Thomas? I am thinking this is the first time I've seen you on Mark Rogers TV. So welcome. Let us know how long you've been watching. All right. So in the Big Ten East, it will be a race between Michigan State, Rutgers, and Indiana. That's your Pat line, Navy Thomas. Did you get that from me? I thought I was the first one to say that when with the Urban Meyer situation and Michigan State in the offseason, and then we heard about Maryland. That pretty soon Indiana is going to be the favorite in the Big Ten East, and with the shoe deal situation at Michigan potentially. All right, George, feeling sorry for me. People, please don't feel sorry for me. First of all, I don't know why you're feeling sorry for me, but don't do that. All right, Washington State goes 4-8. Ryan, you might be onto something. You might be onto something that you're hearing or about to hear on the channel here as we carve through the Pac-12 North first. Washington State. Washington State. There's a lot of these around here. They're stacked up all over the place. They're stacked up all over the place. Washington State coming off, of course, 9-4 last year, lost the bowl game to Michigan State. They got trounced. Okay, Mike Leach can only win so much at Washington State, or really almost anybody can only win so much at Washington State. Going 9-3 back-to-back years at Washington State is maybe about as high as they can go. I'm starting to get on Cliff Kingsbury a bit because if you look at what he's failed to do at Texas Tech versus what Mike Leach did at Texas Tech, there is a huge disparity. Cliff Kingsbury is currently 30-33 at Texas Tech, and his first team was really good and stacked pretty well, and they won the Holiday Bowl over Arizona State, finished out a decent 8-5 season. Since then, wow, he's losing 2/3 of his games in the Big 12. And he's been allowed to stick around that program now for, 6 years? Mike Leach went 84-43 at Texas Tech. They were ranked most seasons in the final top 25 poll. And like I say, 9-4, 8-5, 9-4. Those are the last 3 seasons at Wazoo. I don't know if they can do better than that. They, of course, tragically lost Tyler Helinski during the offseason. Gardner Minshew comes in from East Carolina at quarterback. Cameron Cooper is the prized freshman, but he's a true freshman this season. All the slot guys come back. They've got new wide receivers on the outside, but, of course, have a slew of them that caught passes last year. Desmond Patton, Kyle Sweet, Renard Bell. Top running back James Williams, 71 receptions last year. This Washington State offense last year ran the ball 216 times. They passed it 713 times. 7-2 run-pass ratio. The defense under Alex Grinch, defensive coordinator, now at Ohio State. So that could be a huge loss. Ryan, you're onto that too. In the advanced metrics, the S&P Plus, Washington State has improved on defense from 101 to 74th to 63 to 29th. Now, did Washington State legitimately have the 29th best defense in the country last year? No. But statistically, they did in the advanced metrics, and they legitimately had a top 45 to 50 defense. Maybe better than that. And that's how much they've improved. But they lost their defensive coordinator, Alex Grinch, to Ohio State, and Tracy Claeys, the former Golden Gophers head coach, takes over. Defensive line could be awful this year. I don't know how they're going to deal with Washington and Stanford in particular. The defensive line's a mess at Washington State. It's very weak. The secondary comes back. The linebackers are good. They play no one in the non-conference. So, Ryan, you've got to consider when you say 4-8, they don't play anyone. They've got no Power 5 games. And yes, they've got a history of dropping one of those games. But even if they do, 2-1, I don't know, is necessarily going to equal 4-8 total. So I think they're going to be propped up by a 3-0 start. Maybe they go 4-5 in the Pac-12. And it's still 7-5. It still looks decent, but they're not nearly the team that they've been. Good thing we have no BYU fans on here. Must not be allowed to use computers. Ricky is touting Matt Campbell for the job at Ohio State in 2019, as many are. Stanford or Washington in the Pac-12. Thank you, Christopher. UCLA is a first-year buy-in, not playoff quality 100%, but moving fast, whatever that means. I'm guessing you like UCLA long-term. I do, too. D. Howard, Miami, Georgia national championship game. D, I'm going to ask you one question. You wouldn't be a Miami fan, would you? Northwestern surprised Navy Thomas. Have you looked at the schedule? Is that Northwestern? NW? That's got to be Northwestern. You mean a surprise down? If anything, I think it's a surprise down. Michigan, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, Duke, Iowa. It's a tough road for Patty Fitz this year. All right. We've got George. Miami will go 12-0 or 11-1. You think Georgia and Clemson will be in the national championship game? You're going to get my pick on the national championship game soon. Remember, Urban tried to run Zach Smith off. Miami will manage to lose 2 games. Savage, I like how you think. If you look at the Miami schedule on its surface, they are going to be favored unless things change drastically between now and what happens in November with the scheduling of the games. But right now, the win probabilities say Miami is a pretty substantial, even with Florida State at home, a pretty substantial favorite in every game. They're at least a 60% win probability for every game this season. They get tripped up once. I can almost guarantee Miami gets tripped up once. LSU, Florida State, Boston College, the 3 most likely candidates for me, or maybe twice. And then there's no playoff. Urban couldn't fire Zach. Has recorded on a cell phone. Urban doing bad things. They're all going down. Navy Thomas got that off me. We're talking about Northwestern. We're talking about we're talking about the Big Ten East. All right, good stuff. Yeah, Indiana, winner of the Big Ten Eastern Division Championship this year. Michigan will have no shoes to wear, so they'll be in their stocking feet out there, and Ohio State will have no Urban Meyer, and they'll be suspended and put on probation immediately. And Maryland, of course, all their players are going to be beat up and so demoralized from all those tongue lashings that Maryland's going to go 0-12. And you got Ohio State probably 7-5, and then Michigan State, of course. All this is, there's another thread of something that's going to come out any day now that takes out Michigan State. So you got Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, and then Penn State just inexplicably crumbles. I don't know what to make up there. Indiana, Big Ten Eastern Division champions. All right, you guys are just entertaining me today. You can see that I prepared nothing, and I typically prepare next to nothing because I'm working hard on these videos. And so the live streams are guests featured, and then also us just going off on some kind of topic that I come up with, and I came up with nothing this particular go around. And of course, you guys don't mind that. You want to hear about the channel. The channel is the voice of college football. So if anybody's joining us for the first time, and there's probably few joining us for the first time, but I appreciate that even when I strike up a live stream and you guys have no notice, and I'm sorry, I know I've announced for the last 6 weeks that we do a 6 o'clock Eastern time live stream every Monday, but I don't expect you guys to remember that. I had one of my staff. We got Alex, we got Mary. You've all been introduced to Alex and Mary. That's the staff. We have our conference call every Friday, and they do some good things for me then Friday to Friday. But they let me know that the channel configuration on YouTube needs to be redesigned, and there needs to be a schedule posted. That's what they are investigating and researching, that there needs to be a schedule posted. That's good for analytics as well. So I don't know what that's going to be because I fire up live streams left and right. But we will come up with a schedule for the season. Right now, we've committed to 4 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday, 6 on Monday, Wednesday and Thursday night at 7. But yeah, so if we have anyone new on here, or maybe you've checked out a video or two, please subscribe. Do yourself a favor and subscribe. I am subscribed to a handful of people on YouTube. I don't even know who they are. And I don't say that in a condescending way. I really don't know who they are now. There was something in particular that caused me to subscribe to them at the time, but I don't have my notifications set in a way that it drives me nuts when they drop videos. And so that I would suggest, either if you want the notifications on and you're ready to jump on and want to watch what we deliver, I appreciate that more than you will ever know. But if you don't want to be driven crazy by the notifications, still help out the channel if you appreciate the content by subscribing and then liking the videos. And I think that you should even like a video, even if you don't agree with it. If you think it's a quality video, if you think it's garbage, you think I'm insane, you think I don't know what I'm talking about, dislike the video. Go ahead, give it a dislike. But let's say you think I know what I'm talking about. You just don't agree with my angle on that team, that coach, ranking those particular coaches or players or whatever it is. Still give it a like. Say, okay, this is a quality perspective. I don't agree with it, but he did his research. He's got a reason. It's logical. I just think this. Like, that's my thought. That's how I approach it. That's when I go out and like or dislike other videos from time to time. There are things that I disagree with, but think, yeah, that guy's on top of it. I've got a different perspective on that, but I'm going to like the video because it was a quality discussion. If we all agreed, then that would be boring. We don't all agree. So we've got the audio as well on Google Play, Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher, and I've got to catch up to the video transmission as we gain more listeners of the audio uploads, which is good because that's up quite considerably, I will say. The metrics that they give me on Podbean. Let's see what we got here. So it's not huge because I don't really emphasize the audio right now, but over 4,000 downloads in the last month, over 800 in the last week. So I was doing a lot less than that, and now I'm doing well over 100 downloads on the audio per week. So thank you for that. But not doing me much good right now. I need to advertise the audio, and that's why I mention it on here for people that just want to check out the audio. Mailing list. All right. Thank you so much for those people that have subscribed to our mailing list. And what that is going to be starting with week 1 of the college football season is that every Monday, you're going to have in your inbox my take, my perspective on the weekend's games. You are also going to have a collection of, for you nerds out there, and I think there's many, raise your hand, statistical nerds that want to see trends, facts, stats that you're not going to see just anywhere. I'm not going to tell you that I'm not going to send you some stats that you haven't seen. I can't predict or project everybody's stat intake, but I guarantee you that you're not going to come across this collection of stats anywhere. So stats, trends, facts from the weekend, and then a channel update, and maybe something more. We'll see. It will grow and develop and turn into something. And we will iterate it as we go. And remember that if you shop on Amazon, please grab one of the links in the description section on any of the videos. Grab the description section, see it below the video, and grab any of the links. As you shop on Amazon, buy whatever you want. You don't have to buy the products that are displayed there. They are college football gear, so I try to select products that would appeal to the audience, but that doesn't matter. Go shop on Amazon, do whatever you would in your shopping, and we benefit from that as well. Sometime I'm going to run down recruiting, and this is not the best time to do it, and probably won't be until January. But I know a zillion of you out there love recruiting, want to stay on top of it, and I could do better there. I hammer it pretty hard from the end of the season until National Signing Day, or now the second at National Signing Day, in terms of recruiting videos. If somebody would like to try the phone line, I re-upped on the phone line. Your number is 400. Check that. 860-400-5696. That's the number. I'll put it in the live chat if you want to talk some college football directly with me here. I re-upped the phone subscription just a few minutes ago before I struck up the live stream. 860-400-5696. Country boy, I do. I just re-upped it. I didn't have time to research all that stuff. I looked at a couple things, and things are crazy around here trying to get all this done. And a lot of the work that I do on the channel, you guys don't see because I'm trying to make things happen behind the scenes, and hopefully that will become evident at some point. So you'll see something that is going to make the product better, and then you'll think, okay, yeah, it took Mark a year to do that. So hopefully some of these things will pay off, but it's a lot of work behind the scenes in addition to cranking out. Does anybody crank out more videos than I do? So a lot of time to put into that. I've got 2 kids. They're older, but we still spend a lot of time together. So I have to do that. And personal life. There's personal life and there's work life and all those things. All right. Look at this. We've got a call coming in. Hey, this is Mark Rogers TV. Who do we have on the line? Hello, this is Mark Rogers TV. Who's on the line? I didn't remember as soon as I took the phone call that I believe I have to press 1. And by the time I got to the 1, they probably hung up on me. So you can always call us back here. Here we go. All right. Hello, this is Mark Rogers TV. Who's on the line? Oh, of course it is. I thought it would be. Hey, Navy, hang on 2 seconds. Let me make sure I've got you on speaker, which I don't believe I do here. Yeah, I'm trying to get us back to where I can get you on speaker. There we go. Go right ahead, Navy. Nobody heard anything you said. Now you can fire away.
Oh, I just called just for somebody to call in. Nobody else seems to want to do it. So,
well, I've got a handful of people that keep telling me that I need to do this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What?
On this Big Ten fiasco in the East.
Yes.
Out here in the West, it's like even the Iowa fans are like, snicker, snicker, snicker. Oh, the Big Ten East is finally getting paid back.
Well, they are going to play football games this fall, so they might not be laughing then, but I don't know what the effects are going to be long term. It's not necessarily as though the Ohio State program's going down the tubes tomorrow. I think that it's going to be fine. They may take a bit of a recruiting hit, whether he stays or goes. Now, the Maryland situation, that's not why the Big Ten East was a power, so there's nothing to be lost there. And then this Michigan situation, who knows how long that's going to go on with the shoe scandal. What do you know about that? Probably more than I do.
As far as I can see and what I've read, it's self-investigation so far before they report to the NCAA. And somehow that's hooked up with North Carolina and
Cal.
2 other schools, and it's all based on Nike. It's the Nike contracts that are killing everybody.
So I'm surprised that this just started.
I don't know where to go on that.
Well, I am a bit surprised that if this has been going on for years in regards to the kids are given shoes by the shoe companies through the school, that they just started selling them off. I would have thought that this would have happened a long time ago.
Oh, I got another good one for you that you should get a laugh out of, and so should the chat boys. Scott Frost, you know, his house got broke into.
Yep.
And they stole originally like $165,000 worth of stuff. And then they found a bunch of stuff inside his house. So it was all good. But what was missing was shoes. So the first one they busted was a 17-year-old girl that had one shoe, not a pair, but had one shoe. And then today it broke that she rolled on two other guys, and one of them's 20 years old and the other guy is 16. And here we go again. The shoes are from Oregon.
Shoes are important. People love shoes, Navy.
Those?
People love shoes, Navy.
Nike.
I know a couple guys at work that collect Nike shoes, and they've got like 200, 250 tennis shoes. And most of them haven't been touched. People value these things like they're gold. People love shoes.
Yeah. Frost shoes were valued at $3,000 a pair.
Really? What is he wearing?
Yeah, can you believe that?
Not necessarily. I didn't know that they made
left all the championship. They left all the championship rings, but took the shoes.
Okay. Oh, that's funny. Well, I don't like to hear.
I'll let you go. Get back to your show.
I appreciate it, Navy Thomas. You're the best.
All right, man.
You have a great day.
You are the best too.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
So Navy Thomas just called in to support the show. He just called in to say hi and didn't necessarily have anything to say. So he made up some news and notes of what transpired that's a little bit on the lighter side. Not that making light of somebody's house being broken into. But yeah, some of the periphery of that story is a bit comical. Navy Thomas has been supporting me for quite a long time. I don't know how many subscribers I had when Navy Thomas jumped on board. I might have had like 49, something like that. All right, folks. Yeah. So here's the deal. Please get on the mailing list. Just send your email to MarkRogersTV@gmail.com. And I'm going to get you on the mailing list and send out this mailing each week. And so what it's going to start out with is my take on the weekend's play, stats and trends and facts, and then a channel update. And then I'm going to listen to you. And certainly if you guys have suggestions on what you would like to see in the email each week, then I can provide that. Now, if it's going to take me like 42 hours to do it or research it, then those have to be taken into consideration as well. But I always take your suggestions. And you guys notice that during the off season, I really take your suggestions. Now, once we get close to football season, I am laser focused on previews and predictions right now. I've got some work to do. I only got 2 out today. I think I'll do one right after we get off the live stream. I'm going to do Washington State. Ryan's going to like that. I'll do Washington State, I believe. And then we'll get some out tomorrow as well. We got Ghost 3051 on the line. Orson Asorka, I hope I say that the right way. And we got another call coming in. Who do we have here? Who do we have? Hello, this is Mark Rogers TV. Who do we have on the line? Hello, hello. This is basically what's happened for the 2 or 3 calls that I've had. Hey, this is Mark Rogers TV. Who's on the line? Unfortunately, it's always seems to not take the first call. I don't know why. Then the second call, at least the 2 times that Navy Thomas has called in, the second call has been fine. So whoever commented about phone burner not being the way to go, maybe you're right. Press 1. I tried pressing 1. Then I tried pressing 2. Give me one more shot. Here we go. We'll get it down. This is going to go viral. Hey, it's Mark Rogers TV. Who do we have on the line? Hey, who's on the line? Oh, we got George on the line. George, what's going on, man? Okay. Well, let's get you on speaker.
Been drinking, I won't drive. It's only 2 blocks away. Anyway, yeah, man, all this analysis is killing me. I can't wait for the games to start. This is wearisome.
Yeah, it's you know, we could take football all year. That would be great. But early in the off season, it's fun. Let's look at the schedules. Let's make some projections. Let's look at some rankings. Let's rank the quarterbacks and the teams and all that. But yeah, it's just been a grind just waiting for football. Can you imagine after we get those Saturday games in, we're going to have so much to talk about. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be great.
If it wasn't for the off-field issues, it would be okay. But this is just killing me, man. Come on, you know?
Yeah, I'm like you. I struggle with that because when something breaks, I have so many people contacting me saying, you got to talk about Maryland. You got to talk about Urban Meyer. You got to talk about this. You got to talk about that. And I really don't want to. I really don't like it. But so I try to balance that out and really focus on the effects on the football. Yeah. But
hey, you know, I'm a Gator. I'm a Gator for just a second. I thought our team was going down for a second. That was horrifying.
You thought you were part of what?
Bat?
Oh,
I thought the Gators were going down. Baseball bats, frying pans, airsoft guns. Like, are you serious?
So if
the Urban Meyer story broke, and I went, thank God. Yeah.
Oh yeah, everybody pushed you guys to the side. It didn't make the light of day for the most part outside of 20-mile radius there. George, I'd like to ask you one question. When are you starting your YouTube channel?
I don't do that, but you can click on my stuff. All my stuff's open. All the bizarre shit I look at on the internet, I put it in files that don't mean anything. It's fascinating.
George, the reason I ask you that is nobody, and I appreciate there are tons of comments and funny comments and knowledgeable comments and insightful comments, but consistently commenting, nobody does it like George. And he's always got something ridiculous to say that just strikes me funny. It's great.
Yeah, I'm a comedian, and I understand Google Analytics. You know, make a comment, anything. Just don't be rude. You know.
Yeah. Do you really understand Google Analytics? Maybe I should hire you.
I do. Yeah, Alonzo 1219. He owes me, man. I just fucking blow his shit up.
Okay. Can we limit on the obscenities?
Yeah,
would be tremendous.
Sorry about that.
So, George, anything you can pass my way that's going to help me out in regards to the way I should approach this, I will do.
If you're a betting man, I can't help you. I'd put 100 on the Gators to go to the playoffs. They got 19 returning starters and 12 studs. It's a one-year shot. They won't have it next year, but they have it this year.
Okay, that's not the kind of advice I was looking for. That's not the kind. That's not the kind of advice I was looking for. I was looking for Google Analytics advice. I thought that's what you were sending my way.
Oh! I will tell you this: you're too spread out.
Too spread out on teams.
You're going to have to limit it, man. You're going to have to pick like 10 good teams because it's too spread out. The people from Iowa State aren't going to support you, man. They can't do it.
You're definitely right there.
And the Floridas and the Florida States and the Georgias and the Ohio States and the Michigans and those guys, you know, they got a fan base. People in Iowa are busy. They have farms to tend to.
That's tremendous.
Iowa. I'm just saying.
That's tremendous. Well, you know what the deal is, George. If I did nothing but grind away at Iowa State, yeah, they have a substantial fan base, but they don't want to hear about Clemson and Georgia and everybody else. So you really got to focus in on them. So they're not going to stick around my channel to get their one Iowa video every month. So you're right.
I'm just saying, I click on your stuff just to be nice. Nobody's watching your videos and you have no likes. I wouldn't do it if I didn't get no likes and no comments. If it's just me clicking go to Iowa or something, why would you do that?
Okay, we're picking 10 teams. George says.
Yeah, 10 teams.
10. Wow, that's going to be a tough cut.
All
right, George.
Store. I'm out of beer.
Hey, appreciate that. You go load up.
I love you, man. Good channel.
I appreciate it, man. You're the best. Thanks. All right, you guys see him comment all the time on the videos. He's tremendous. George. Finally got to talk to him. This is the first time I've talked to George. We have traded a zillion comments, but it's nice to hear from you guys after all this time online. So I like this. Somebody commented in the chat that they didn't like the call-ins, but the call-ins will be good, especially when we get to talk about football. All right. So, yeah, I'm going to have to think long and hard about that. Man, it hurts me not to bring on the Washington State guy or the Duke person, or those are bad examples because I can't think of anybody that I've had on for Duke. But, the second and third tier teams. I enjoy having those conversations and covering those teams. I would love to have a Purdue guy come on, talk Purdue football. But, yeah, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Florida State, Florida, Miami, they drive it. Notre Dame, Michigan. That might be the list right there. USC, and we ignore everyone else unless they're going to make a college football playoff. All right, so let's do this. I have to go to work. And before that, I want to cut a video and release the next prediction. And so since we've got nothing necessarily to discuss, then I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate you jumping on the line. And we'll let you know again, for anybody that you know that loves college football, this is the time to jump in, subscribe, like, and comment. You know the deal. Family and friends, let them know we're here. And use the Amazon links and also the audios at Google Play, Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher. And the mailing list. Just send your email address to MarkRogersTV at Gmail. You get one email a week. I will not bombard you with garbage. And you have my email address as well. So I will not abuse it. I appreciate the support for Navy Thomas and George calling in. And we will do this call-in show. And we will get this down to where it runs a little smoother on the call-ins. And we don't have to try it 2 or 3 times to make it work. All right. Thank you so much. The alpha male dialed in here late and got a big comment in. So everybody read from the alpha male, because I don't believe that I've heard from the alpha male before. Nebraska, we would have to include Nebraska. See, I think the list has to be longer than 10. There's no way I can limit that to 10. I got to include Nebraska. Look how good Washington's going to be this year. Nobody cares, but Washington's going to be good. I got to talk about them. So that's going to be tough for me as a college football nerd to limit myself to 10 teams. But George definitely has a good point there. All right, everyone. We will see you soon. This means prediction videos coming out the next few days. I will be on definitely Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. I have a number of guests lined up for Wednesday and Thursday night into Friday. And, of course, previews and predictions coming each and every day. We will see you next time here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.